Hello and welcome to Walpole United WFC. Hello, welcome back to Walpole United WFC. What a week it's been. Old Trafford game. We've got lots to talk about today. I will just pre-warn, if I suddenly lag out, I'm expecting one of these fantastic guests to take over the show for me. Which I don't usually have, to be fair. I'm usually Mr. Reliable when it comes to internet, but no.
All right, Karthik.
I know I've been cutting out all over the place this afternoon. So fingers crossed. Right. Firstly, how is everybody? It's good to have you all on.
Yeah, I'm very good. Thank you, mate. Very good.
All good, thanks, Connor.
No, doing fine.
Nice one. Glad to hear it. We'll start off then. We'll talk about some of the quotes that have come out from Mark Skinner. Emma Sanders did I think John's comment summed it up to me. I think he replied to her and said, with Mark Skinner, you can never fit it into one tweet. You have to put it into Notepad and then upload that as a picture to Twitter because of how long it obviously talks on. But I'll come to each of you first, and we'll split it into two sections because he talked about transfers and then he talked about contracts as well, amongst obviously the rest of the things, with player fitness and everything else. But I just want to focus on those two. And Marty, I'll come to yourself because I wouldn't say he set himself up for failure, but he's made a pretty bold claim in terms of, he said, we're very much down the line on a few players in recruitment. I'm pleased with our progress, but for us, our depth, and we need to add quality to that as well. We're trying to be as aggressive as we can to get the right people in. Do you think he's very bold in terms of saying that? Because we know what the United board are like in terms of backing people.
I think it's one of those, if you put it out there and you say it enough, the people who have the authority to say no won't say no immediately. It gives them pause to think, because if he puts it out there and the Man United fandom, okay, all the supporters and everybody who is invested in this club, which is worldwide, starts saying, okay, yeah, that's what we expect. That's what we want. This is what we're going to do. And the revenue starts coming in from other outlets that they sort of depend upon, okay, and they see an uptick in monies, then they're not so inclined to be a knee-jerk reaction of, no, that's absolutely insane, and no, we're not paying that money for that player, because they don't have the same value as if, they got absolutely no problem paying just cargo-fulls of loads of money for the men players, right? But when it comes to the women, they are a bit more judicious and worry about their purse strings. So I just think it's a matter of, hey, they can't say no immediately if I put it out there and everybody loves the idea. So
it's a fair point, Stu. Where do you stand on this thing? So you follow the men's side as well, and we know what these owners are like. Do you think he is kind of a bit brave saying that on record, that we're down the line? Do you think he would say that if we were do you think there's some truth to that?
I actually do, yeah. And the reason for that is because whatever happens this season, it's been a far better season positional-wise, potentially, and play-wise over the course of the season than what it's been since the reinception of the women's team. And there comes a time where a club have got to pre-plan. And just say, for example, we're a League Two side right now, and we're looking to go up to League One. I'm using this as an example. You've got to start shopping in League One players. And I think we need to start shopping for Champions League level players. We need to do it now. And we need to do it because if we don't, I was watching Wolfsburg tear Arsenal apart the other day. Barcelona destroyed Real Madrid. The Leon, I think Blaze past. Was it PSG? Was it? I can't.
No, Juventus.
Juventus. Sorry, apologies.
Juventus.
But these are the types of clubs. Yes, they've been in the the women's game a lot longer. They're better set up, and I think we maybe are looking at potentially following that particular model, and I think that's what we should be doing, and we should be aspiring to get these players that have played Champions League football, not that aspire to play but have played, because if we do by some reason sneak in, and it's going to be very, very tough, as Marty was saying, explain to me how we'll beat Chelsea. I don't think anybody can wave that magic wand and tell you how to do that, but if we do, we cannot allow ourselves a summer window that drags and drags and drags like it did. Well, we didn't do much at all in the summer, did we? It was mainly in January. We can't afford that if we're going to be entering Champions League football. So for me, and it sounds like Murta, it sounds to me like he's changing the way that we're doing things throughout the club. That includes the men's side, because I fully expect us to have our manager in place by the end of next week, irrespective of what people have said, if it's not already done. And maybe Richard Arnold has said to Murta, all right, pal, this is what you're going to be doing. I need it doing. And here's your time frame. And it's about time if that was happening. So I would say he knows something. And I like the fact that he's drip feeding something. But Connor, you are right, mate. You are 100% right. If it all goes tits up, so to speak, he's going to look a clown. An absolute clown. So I would suggest that maybe there's something working and he knows. That would be I've kind of got around the houses, I know, but that's what I think.
Before we open up to a formal discussion, then, John, where do you stand on this then? Do you think he's right to come out and say that we're down the line on a few players?
Yeah, it's quite a bold thing for him to come out with, really. But I think for him to have said that, there must be it must be fairly sort of nailed on, for him to say that. So I think they must have perhaps learnt from last year, and they're getting things in place so that we're a lot better prepared for the start of next season, regardless of whether we end up in the European place or not, I think.
And Marty, I just want to bring this back to yourself, because he mentioned obviously the Scandinavian and the American leagues in particular, talking about that it's an all year round process. You don't have to wait till the summer. If these conversations are happening now, some of these players potentially are waiting to see if we do. Stu made the point there in terms of we need Champions League level players. Do you think maybe, obviously, you'll be able to give better insight into the American leagues? They're waiting to see if we do get top three. Maybe the discussions have happened now, but they're waiting to see. And if we do drop to fourth, they'll go, actually, no, I'll go elsewhere. Do you reckon that is part of the conversation?
Oh, absolutely. I also think that's the point of why, unless you've heard differently, why there's some players that we absolutely want to keep but aren't re-signed as yet. They're not extended as yet, that they're waiting to see, because that's what they want. A woman's career in soccer is very, very short in terms of where you are peaking and how long you can stay there. And so really the mindset is, okay, I'm here for X amount of years. I have X amount of game time on my body. How can I maximize it? And the way you maximize it is you win World Cups, you win Euros, you win Champions League, you win your regular league, you get into the top elite, you are on your national team each and every time there's a call up. So yeah, absolutely. I do think that there's a lot of leveraging going on, saying, well, if you have this, I'm interested, call me. There's also the jump offs, like someone just jumped off and are now back in the NWSL. And they left Janine Becky from who's a Canadian national teamer, who I think was playing for City, right? Janine Becky, right? And she basically jumped off to get the start of the season at the NWSL. It could be family reasons, and she just wants to be on the North American continent as opposed to over in Europe. But that happens. It happens a lot. And since you have such an auction in the way you manage pulling players, which is a lot more freer than what we have in the NWSL, because we're tied to a draft system and you only have so many free agents and there's all these rules, and it's sort of like it could be a drinking game for all the rules that we have. So I do totally believe that they're weighing their options and they're seeing what's happening.
Yeah, it's an interesting point because when we had Willie Kirk on last week or the week before, he mentioned about, can Mark Skinner turn this group of players into winners, or do we need to sign winners into this squad to take us to the next level? Because we don't have that many players in our team that are winners yet. They might turn into that. I'm not saying that this is a bad group of players that they can't become that, but you look at City, Chelsea, Arsenal, they've got people that have done it on the European stage, on the world stage. We don't have too many of them in our squad yet. I'll keep saying that.
I disagree with that overall statement. To me, that's a blanket statement, because I could see where if Mark Skinner had selected different players at certain times or made a sub, in certain ways, or had changed tactics, he could have picked off a game here and there. And if he had just picked off, say, 2 games, if he had changed 2 of those draws into wins, we wouldn't be worried about having to beat Chelsea. It would be locked in. And that's what I see. I mean, they were very worn out at the end of the Spurs match. We ended up drawing. They scored this, this bizarre, we're giving up late goals. Giving up late goals, losing the wins. We're losing the 3 points. We get the 1 point. I see that as tired legs. He had people on the butt. He had people on the bench. There are a number of situations where they're just really dragging, and in his head, he has these players are going to win for me, and these players are going to be the ones that are going to get me there. I'm not disputing that he's identifying the right players. I'm just saying, if you play that player that much, they're not a machine. And even if they were a machine, you give a machine an oil change. You give a machine a new fan belt. You give them new tires. It's not like their workings aren't going to wear down a bit. So
it's a good observation, and it happens in the men's league a lot. Certainly when Ollie was managing the men's side, and me and Colin have had many a discussion about his use of substitutions, and you're absolutely right. It's kind of disheartening if you're a player and that the manager looks across to the bench and then looks back and then decides that the team on the field is still better suited than what they've got there. It is very, very disheartening. I think what Willie Kirk was getting at, and I do kind of agree with this side, Marty, is that you do need that 1 or 2 sprinkles of stardust, only 1 or 2, to filter in with an already what I would like to call a workmanlike side, because you need a workmanlike side as the foundation. You can't have 12, and Colin knows, 11. Colin knows it's superstars. I don't like the phrase superstar. It winds me up more than anything. You can't have 12 high-level footballers. You've got to have a workmanlike unit to start with, and then it enables you to then grow that team into what you eventually want it to be. So I tend to agree with you. I think you're right, but I could see what Willie Kirk was getting at in terms of that. I was watching Barcelona the other day. Now they've got 3 or 4 outstanding footballers. I don't know the names. And I won't even attempt to pronounce them, but they've got some outstanding footballers. But they've got 4 or 5 workmanlike players that keep the ball well, deliver the ball well, short and long, know what to do with it. But that never really stood out in the game, only to a footballer that would understand what they were doing and how they interacted with the team, and then allowed the superstars of women's football to go out and do what they did to Real Madrid. So you are right, Marty. I agree. But there's also another area, as the players themselves have got to keep their own engine tuned. I like your analogy of an oil change. They've got to change their own oil, change their own tyres. They've got to understand how to go about doing that as well. And I actually agree with you. I don't think we know quite right. These players don't know just at this point how to conserve their energy, when to use it in a match, and when to get the breath that they desperately need. That you are right there. It's a really good observation, because I don't think we, as of yet, the bulk of our players, I don't think quite understand how to do that yet. They go at it very, very hard, don't they? and then we
Yeah.
suffer later on in the game. And that's a great observation. I wholeheartedly agree.
I was going to say, I might be. You might want to copyright that phrasing, because I might be taking that for a future show. That engine analogy that you that you use there. John, I'll just come back to yourself then. Do you think that is then part of the negotiations, that these players are, that yes, we're maybe down the line, but these players have got, to use a different phrase, maybe a strong hankering, for Champions League, and that could be the deciding factor in some of these players. We saw it last summer, with certain players went to City. Obviously, they didn't get through the qualification stages in the end, but certain players did choose City over us because of that. So do you think maybe that's why it's taken a little bit longer, or I don't know? It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's there's got to be something in there to do with this, hanging on whether we finish third or not. I think there'll be there's a few that that they're just going to be hanging on just to see what the outcome is, really. I think there might be a few, like you say, Connor, that if it doesn't happen, then they might end up looking elsewhere. Hopefully not not like, say, City, like they all did seem to last season, but whether they sort of go into Europe, possibly. But yeah, I think a lot of it's going to come down to that eventually. As much as we probably wouldn't hope it will do, it's probably going to be certainly a few of the players, sort of the top players. It's going to be on their mind, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. I just want to spin it onto the second part then that he spoke about before we do move on onto the rest. Obviously, you mentioned contracts there as well, and I think this is a similar conversation. The quotes that he came out was just saying, we're working hard to renew the people that we feel will be a part of it. We do have an option years as well, so there'll be some players who take up their option with a view for the next phase. And Marty, do you think that last sentence there almost backs up what you were saying actually earlier, that some players maybe will take an option or just seeing where this goes as a team?
Yeah, I think it's a wait and see. I mean, a lot of the players who are up for renewal signed on with Casey when she was head manager, and I almost said head coach. Sorry, wrong country. And Skinner's a new manager, and so I think that they're sort of like, well, okay, because a lot of times when you have a new manager come in, it's a rebuild, okay, as opposed to just keep going from where we were, which we were exactly where we are right now, okay. We had one trip up last season, which was Reading. All right. We should have won that Reading match. We should have taken those 3 points. If we had taken those 3 points, Arsenal would never have gotten over us. They would never have come past us. This season, we had a bit of a rough start out of the gate. Then we got into the draw section of our season. And I think they're doing the wait and see. And then they're also doing we got the Euros, we got the World Cup. I want to play Champions League. How many, how old am I now? How do I feel? Have I had any massive injuries? And the two players that I, top of my head is Ona and Jackie. Okay. Because, I think Ona is truly valued by Skinner. Okay. And she's wanted, I think by most of Europe. Okay. Jackie, I think, is undervalued by Skinner. Okay. I do not see him valuing her the way Casey valued her. In that how he plays her, how he depends, I just don't think he has it in his mindset how he wants that midfield structured. Okay. And he has multiple players that he sees fit into the role that Jackie would play. And then it's a matter of, either not wanting to adjust the rest of his strategy to accommodate the top level player that he has. Okay. This is off part, but I just heard Carly Lloyd's coming back, okay, into NWSL. And one of the things that last season I felt is her football club, Gotham, played to her benefit. Okay. And it could be the same argument that's used for Messi or Ronaldo. Okay. But they played to her benefit. I don't think it benefited the club overall. And so that's the way I see it with Skinner, is that he has it in his head how he wants everything, and he's already decided what players fit into that. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's beneficial for the whole club. It just means that that's the way he wants it, and he's the manager and he can do it. You know, I hope I answered your question, Frank.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'll let obviously Stu and John, you have your say on this as well. Like I said, it's another bold statement in terms of saying that he didn't say some players might, he said some players will. So I think using that terminology, he's expecting the likes of maybe if we can't, and I think I said this with the show we did with Emma Sanders, that maybe with the likes of Jackie and Honor, maybe if we don't get it this year, we might say to them, right, if you can stay one more year, see where we are next year, and then, we'll let you go if we don't get it next year. Do you think that's maybe come into it, Stu, as well?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, controversial. I'm going to get shouted at now, but I would perhaps move Jackie on in the summer anyway. I think you're absolutely right, Marty. I don't think he knows what to do with her. I don't think he's got a clue how to play her. I think she's a far better footballer than what we're seeing. She's a far better personality, bigger personality than what we're seeing. I thought she was excellent against Everton, and that's the first time I've really seen her play properly. Along with Katie, it looks like a bigger pitch suits her. She's very, very skillful. We know that. We know she's got a great first touch, and we know she's got some vision. But I don't know whether she's injury prone or whether she's just had a rough time with injury since she's been at Manchester United. It's difficult to say. But I think that sometimes you've got to cut your losses on players and individuals, and maybe individuals need to cut their losses on the club. I can definitely see why people would be clambering for Honor to stay. I would imagine if Barcelona came calling, it'd be very difficult for her to say no. But I would expect her to stay. She looks comfortable and she looks settled. But just for Jackie, unless something miraculous happens between now and the end of the season or in the summer, a new style of play, because you make a very good point about having to play to players' strengths, and we're not playing to her strengths. Clearly, we're not playing to her strengths. And we weren't playing to Katie Zelem's strengths at the very beginning of the season. And that's why Katie Zelem was getting so much stick. As soon as he decided to play Katie in a favoured position and a best position, she became this game changer that we all knew she could. Now, I believe that Jackie's got that within her, but he just doesn't know what to do with her, and that's always going to be a problem. So, sorry to say, I think if I was Jackie, I would probably look to move in the summer. And then if I was Skinner, I would look to bring in 2 or 3 players that complement our core players. I'm talking about Earps, I'm talking about Mannion, I'm talking about Zelem, probably Millie Turner. I would imagine she'll get in over Thor, although I love Thor anyway. I think Thor's my type of forward. Boarisa, Russo, Ladd, probably Brun, because I quite like seeing her Brun. I like what she does. Her home is the 18-yard box. We haven't seen enough of that yet. I like her. And Elatoon. And so those are the players, and Blundell and Honor, obviously, that I would be trying to, the players that I'm looking to bring in, complement that group of players, because I think that group of players, plus a few, 3 or 4 added, is what we really need to take the next step. And sometimes you've got to sacrifice.
Yeah, it's an interesting take, and John, I'll let you have the on the last word on this, because I think in regards to contracts, I think there's some players that are out in the summer that you'd probably expect to sign. Millie Turner and Russo in particular. I don't think there's any worry around those two. I think the two, when you talk about contracts, I think everyone, as Stu and Marty have just said, it's Honor and Jackie. Those are the two, that you want to try and tie down. And like I said, I think they both have the option. I think it is the club side that can trigger that. I don't think they need the players' approval for it, I believe. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, though. So yeah, John, what do you think on Skinner's take there? Because he's going to get asked this till the end of the season now about contracts.
Yeah, like you say, I think apart from those two, I can't see why any of the others would sort of not sign. So I think we'll be all right in that regard. In terms of Honor, I really do hope that we manage to keep her. I mean, I think she's a fantastic player, but you can see that there's obviously going to be there will be a lot of interest, and I think it could be quite difficult. But I just hope, like I say, if we can exercise that option for an extra year, then her and hopefully Jackie as well will, hopefully they'll just be able to, you just convince them that just to give it another year sort of thing. If we don't make Europe this year, that hopefully they'll stick around for another year, and hopefully that'll just do for us next season.
Yeah, 100%. Sorry, John, I wasn't laughing at you.
I know.
It's like he poured gasoline over his skin.
It's because you went to wipe it and you made it worse.
I have made it worse. Yeah, I need to get some duster on it. Yeah.
Sorry, John. I wasn't laughing at what you were saying there. I don't even know where we are now in the show. Where are we?
I don't know what we're talking about now.
I was fine until Connor lost it.
It's really hard when you're hosting a show or even part of a show when you shouldn't be laughing to try and it's even worse. So yes, apologies for that.
Okay, so here begs the question: if it's the club that has the option, okay, for the next year, for next season, for Ona and Jackie, how come the club hasn't executed that option? Because I would have thought that they would have already executed it. It's maybe not for Jackie, because I still, Skinner doesn't know what to do with her. But definitely Ona. I mean, for gosh sakes, he's going to let her walk out the door when the club has the option. That's why I think it's the players that have the options, especially Ona. And if I remember reading somewhere where Barca had an option on her, or they had something on her, or she had come up and had played for them early on in her career, and they let her go. So that's why I think if she goes back, it's not going to be to Barca. I think it's going to be to Real Madrid, which, by the way, Real Madrid is scary. They're scary. I mean, because you give them like 2-3 seasons, okay, and they're going to be. And you give them some money, I mean, they're going to be picking off, players that fill their spots, and Barca better be looking over their shoulders.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I didn't actually consider that with contracts. If it is on the club side, then why they've not done it already? Yeah. So I'm sure like I said to John a moment ago, these conversations will be rumbling. Every press conference now, Skinner's going to get asked about contracts now until the end of the season. And then we are into, obviously, official transfer season and into the summer as well. So he's going to get asked all the way through about signings and all these kinds of things. We'll move on briefly because we have got 3 more topics to get through in the second half of the show. So I just want to cover this one quickly. Obviously, it's on the thumbnail. I don't want to turn this into a Brighton preview too much because that goes out with Ben and Matt tomorrow at 7. But it's on the thumbnail there talking about, obviously, Zelem. Now, she's had an awful lot of criticism this season, particularly at the start. Not so much, recently, and particularly at the start of the season. Now, obviously, it says on the thumbnail 5 reasons why she'll lead us to victory. Obviously, in that it's because she is captain, so leading us into victory. That's John's play on words there. So I'll come to each of you just briefly, just to talk about her and how. Because I don't think she was great against Everton, but another goal, another assist. She's still providing for the team, So, Marcy, I'll come to you first on Zelem in terms of the impact that she could have, obviously moving into.
I'm not a Zelem fan. I like Mannion as captain. I appreciate the fact that she has locked in a way of being able to score a goal, from a corner kick. I like that a lot. She scored a goal against Everton, but it was a penalty kick, and yes, there was a lot of pressure on her, granted. A lot of pressure, okay, but it was a penalty kick. I'm not. There was, and I think it was at Old Trafford. I think it was against Everton, where I do not appreciate her work rate. Okay, I'm not a fan of her work rate. I do not. I will put her up against a lot of other midfielders. And I think that she Obviously, she knows how to play football, and she has earned the trust of many people. Otherwise, she would never have made captain. She has been a captain for a while, and she keeps getting played, and she's earned Skinner's trust, and she fits into his system. Okay, but she would never be, has not, and would not, in the near future, be my first one to put on a sheet for who to play in a match. I appreciate the fact that she's doing so much better, but I think that she should have been subbed out in a couple of these matches where we ended up with draws, because I do think she does get tired, and I think that she does not. She doesn't have that, and it could be just her personality and just the way she plays, but she doesn't have that. I'm going to get on the ball and I'm going to get on it now. Okay. She has you took the ball off of me. Let me just sort of keep going and follow you and see what the hell happens with it. And that just bugs the crap out of me. Okay. That just, I saw a look at that and I'm going, light a fire, please, somewhere.
No, Yeah, it is a fair point. Obviously, I'll still come to you in a second. And, hopefully you could spin a positive on it for John.
I'm going to get such a rap to crap off of this.
For John Foster, who's watching, who made that thumbnail, and then we got a list of reasons why she wouldn't. But no, I do actually agree. And the Old Trafford, there was part, like I said, I don't think she was that great in the Old Trafford game. I thought that she was. It was annoying me as well, because she wanted too much time. It was almost like she thought she had 20 minutes on the ball when we didn't. Everton pressed quite well, but she just, obviously, I know you like myself, obviously think there's a really good player in there.
I do.
Just a couple of reasons why you think, leading us into, it doesn't necessarily have to be this game, but obviously the final 4 games, how she will lead us into victory over the line for those games.
Look, I think for me, and I've said it all the time, that when she's on her game, she's very, very calm, and you need a calmness in the centre of midfield. Certainly when you've got a pressing team against you, and she can deliver a football. She can deliver a decent pass. She can go short. She can go long, but she does make mistakes. But there isn't a player on the planet that doesn't make mistakes, and she can be slow to react on occasions. There's absolutely no two ways about it. But when you've got a player that's on a game and is encouraging, and I think that's what she's added, from what I've seen, that's what she's added to her game a lot more. Her passing has been a bit more accurate. Her overall confidence in play has been a whole lot better, I think, since her and Barisa were playing together. And obviously when Jackie played, I didn't think she did too bad, actually, on at the weekend against Everton. I thought Jackie was the better player out of the two, for sure. But I didn't think Katie was that bad. She's just got to be able to, I think, have a bit more of an impetus in the game. The last 4 games that we've got, she's got to have a bit more of an impetus of it. I'll get my words out in a minute. She's got to be a little bit more aggressive in her play. And a little bit more sharper in her play that she was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago when she was really at the top of her game. Look, scoring goals from corners, okay. For me, goalkeepers are smaller in the women's game, so I think it's a lot easier to put one over a goalkeeper, lob a goalkeeper. But ultimately, I like what she stands for as a centre midfielder. What was that?
It was
Carry on.
Okay. I like what she stands for as a central midfielder. And sometimes what gets overlooked by a lot of fans is simplicity. And sometimes a central midfielder just needs to play simple. And she does that very, very well on occasions. But where she does drive us forward, I think she adds to our attacking threat. But she just needs to, for me, get back to where she was 2 or 3 weeks ago. Play with that flowing confidence, and when she plays with that flowing confidence, she's as good as it gets for me, and deserves a place.
John, I'll let you have the final word on Zelem before we move on to last topic. Obviously, you were stood near me at Old Trafford, so you would have heard my frustration, at times. I hope you can spin a positive on this topic as well.
Yeah, I could tell you weren't overly impressed, certainly at the start of the game, but I think she did get into it a bit, sort of after the first 20 minutes or so. and certainly this sort of second half of the season, she's sort of a bit more in that sort of deeper role than she was at the start of the season. I think that's helped her out a lot, and she looks a lot more settled there and calmer in possession. Like I say, sometimes she's a bit guilty of getting caught with the ball and perhaps not getting back, but passing's improved a lot, and set pieces are always dangerous. So I think she's she's got to be in the team. That's for sure, and be very important for these last 4 games.
If I just ask you then, John, just briefly, if you could pick, if somebody had never watched our team before and you had to explain to someone what's the one quality she has, what would you go for?
I would say probably just that just the vision that she has. I think just to pick a quality pass out, just to get a move started. I would say just got a good eye for a good pass.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Is there anything else from you? In fact, I'll ask you both the same question, actually. Stuart, I'll ask you that one. If someone's never watched our side before, if you had to describe Katie, what's the one quality you'd say?
Delivery. She's got great delivery. She has. She's got great delivery. And again, when she's on a game, she's got a great, vision of passing. So, but yeah, delivery for me. She's got a great delivery.
And Marcy, for yourself?
I would say, would you say that she has as good a delivery or the same delivery as Jackie Gronin? Because Jackie Gronin has great delivery for passing.
Yeah. See, here's the thing.
Would that be about the same? Because this is the only thing that I have noticed with Katie Zelem is that Katie Zelem has trouble when we play against teams that are fast paced, that they don't take the time on the ball, because she does like to take the time on her ball to make the accuracy.
Very calm.
She does not have that quick-footed pass with sureness. And that is where, so she will do really, really well against certain teams. But there are other teams which are, unfortunately, they're the Chelseas and the Arsenals and the Man Cities, where she does get caught because they are really quick-paced. They're passing from one end to the other end of the pitch is like spot on, like catch the ball, take the ball, catch the ball, take the ball. And that's where I see that if she was going to work on something, that's what I would pick or suggest.
One of the biggest issues in women's football is there's no blockers. In fact, actually, in the men's football, the blockers have gone. It's a bit of an NFL saying, I know, but on occasions, if your midfield partner, if they're 5 yards away from you, they've got a ball and there's a player coming in, you should be there to block that player. And It doesn't always happen in the
basketball.
Yeah, but it doesn't happen in the game. I don't know why. It's a dying art, to be honest. I mean, I used to love doing it when I was playing central midfielder. I used to love that. The aggressive side of football. We don't do that anymore, but it happens in the men's game, to be fair, Marty. It's all modern stuff. They don't do that. So what they allow is their direct opponent to go at their direct opponent. So it's like a meeting of two bulls, so to speak. And you are right, Katie, because she's quite a calm player.
Right. She does pause. Okay?
She's not looking around for
pauses. And I'm not taking away. I mean, she has excellent passes and she's been doing a lot. But the problem that I'm seeing is that, as we're moving up and we're playing, the top 3, okay, which that's what they are. They're the top 3 right now. And there's a reason why they are that way. And part of it is because they have that ability to move the ball in split second timing, and that's where I see that, I have not seen an improvement over the course of the season where she's gotten better at. So she will excel against teams that don't do that aren't doing that. Okay. She'll excel against those teams because they give her the time to be her and to be great at what she can do. But when she doesn't have the time on the ball, it goes awry for her.
She needs Hayley Ladd back. Shield out for
Well,
Walker.
yeah. Well, with the injuries that we've got over the weekend, we could be seeing both of them playing, and Jackie as well, because it doesn't look like we've got any fit centre halves ready for Brighton. So one of them is going to be back in defence again, which is not ideal for us. I don't know which one to go to. Marty, I'll come to your topic then first, if you want to lead us in on that one.
Okay. Well, we had a draw. We thought we had a win, but we ended up with a draw. So that sort of upset our points table. And I think it's really going to come down to us having to beat Chelsea to make it into the third spot into the Champions League slot. Okay. And so my question posed to everyone is, how do you think we're going to do that? I have watched Chelsea in their last match. I'm quite sure you all watched Chelsea in their last match. And it was amazing to me that they did not achieve double digits against their opponents. Okay, considering how lightning quick they were striking. There was a time in the season where Chelsea could be had. You know, they were lagging, they were tired, they were sick, and they could be had. I think they've got over that. So that's my question to everyone is what are the tactics, and are the tactics going to be employed to just beat Chelsea or to tie Chelsea? Is Mark Skinner going to do that? Because I've seen other head coaches, managers, who's ever in charge, do that. Just say, okay, we don't care about winning. We just care about not letting them get a goal, which means we tie them and we get that 1 point that we want, that we covet. Juventus did that to Chelsea. Will Mark look at what Joe Mourinho did and copy it? And does he have the personnel to copy it with?
It's a really interesting question because, like you said there, we all saw what they did to Leicester. I mean, it is Leicester. No disrespect to them, they completely dismantled them. But I made the point actually on a show the other day that we could still beat Chelsea and still not get top three, because if it comes down to goal difference, we might need to beat Chelsea by 3 or 4, which I could not see happening in the slightest.
Well, I would say that let's start padding it now, okay, before we get to Chelsea, and just put them in the bank. I mean, we have Brighton, then we have Aston Villa, and then we have West Ham United again.
Yeah.
Right. So let's just keep into the bank, because when we come up against Chelsea, I am just hoping we don't let them score.
I think Skinner's got to go for break, if I'm being brutally honest with you. If we go into that game needing a win for Champions League football, he's got to do everything he can to win that game of football. And the players themselves have got to do everything they can to win that game of football. Now, that's easier said than done against Chelsea. I've played in matches where, we've been turned over and we've done nothing wrong during the game. We've played pretty well, but you just come up against better players and better opposition. And sometimes there's absolutely nothing you can do in a game to prevent that. We are going to need the proverbial one off the hip type thing to get in. I want to see if Russo's playing out on the wings. She's got to drive that ball in, make it like a ping pong in their box and just see what happens. The issue with Chelsea is they've got guile and they're very, very ruthless when it comes to to the way that they play. They're very strong at the back. They're good up top. They're good in the middle. But teams have got to go at them. If you go at them and you show not just an energy, but an aggression, but an absolute undenying will to win, you can upset the apple cart. You really can. It doesn't matter. In boxing, it's the old heavyweight. You can be pummeled for 11 rounds. And if you get that one left hook just at the right time and you knock your opponent out, you weren't winning the game. You weren't winning the fight, but it just takes one. And we're going to need that knockout blow to beat them. If Mark Skinner, and I'll be honest with you, if he goes up and tries to tactically outwit Chelsea, we'll get hammered. We'll be on the end of a 3 or 4-0 beating. But if he goes and says to the girls, look, get out there and play your game, play the way you've been playing all season and take it to them, and don't put too much pressure in terms of I need you here, I need you there, etc., etc., etc. You never know what can happen on the day. You might just creep over that line, and that's the way I would look at it.
Where do you stand on this, John?
It's going to be difficult. I mean, sort of probably best case scenario is we'll be going into the game level on points with City with a similar goal difference, maybe slightly inferior. So then it basically means, well, it becomes a straight shootout on the day. We'll like you say, probably have to beat Chelsea, maybe even by more than one goal. And I think we've already conceded. Have we conceded 9? I think in 2 games against them this season.
Something like that.
With arguably our first choice defence in both of those games. So it is a bit ominous when you think about it. But maybe just on the day it might just all fall for us, and we can do it, sort of thing. Stranger things have happened, that's for sure.
That's a real intro. I didn't even consider that. Yeah, so we've conceded 9 against them with arguably. I know I don't think Millie was fit for either, but Mannion was in there. Yeah, it is an interesting point actually that we may go there with a makeshift defence again, and that could be a concern. Obviously, Marty, you raised the question. I'm just swinging it back round to yourself. And how would you go about beating Chelsea, or how do you think we can beat them?
If everything's equal and positive, going into that last match, you're saying that we're going to be tied in points with City, right? Okay, we don't know where the goals stand right now. I think we win on the goal difference, right?
Yeah, I think we're about 5 or 6.
Okay, so we'd be going into a mass match, and City would be playing at Reading, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so so we have to presume that City's going to beat Reading. They're going to take 3 points off of Reading. Okay, if City's playing the way City has been playing for the last couple of weeks, and nothing untoward happens to them, like they don't have any massive injuries, and so we presume that. So then we have to win against Chelsea. Okay, the first thing we have to do is we have to shut down their transition game. And I'm not exactly sure if that's an appropriate term in football.
Yeah,
but it has to do going from one end of the pitch to the other end of the pitch, because they can move that ball very, very quickly up the field. And our defense, does not hustle the way they need to hustle when that happens. We just don't. I'm not exactly sure why we don't, but we don't. Okay, so let's just leave it at that. We'd have Earps in the goal would be my hope. Mannion's out for the season, so we'd have Diane and we'd have Maria probably, right? And then we'd have Ona and Hannah Blondell, right? Hannah. So so the big key is we have to keep pace with them, okay? And that is what who's the backup to Hannah? People-wise, player-wise.
It would be Kirsty Smith, wouldn't it? I'd have thought.
Kirsty Smith normally, but she's still injured.
So we need Haley Ladd, to help on that side, because whereas Ona has the speed to keep up with it, when we played against City, Haley Rasso flat out beat Hannah Blondell going down that pitch, time after time after time, to the point where Hannah was just lagging bad toward the end of that match. So he needs to set it up that there is assistance on the sides. Do I think we could score against Chelsea? Yeah, I think we could score against Chelsea. He could run a pick, and you could have a fake, and we got Tooney and we got Russo, and I think we could score a goal against Chelsea. I don't think that they could get a clean sheet on us. I do think that's doable. But I think his subs have to be key, and I do think he has to lend assistance to the side transitions as they're going down the sides. You cannot let Pernell Harder be able to run from midway through a pitch to score and nobody get a hand on her and take a yellow. Okay, that just we can't let that happen again. We just can't. So and I think that has an option in terms of trying to attack them. Yes, but you have to be prepared that they spin it on you. They will take your attack, and it's almost like in physics. Okay, it's like using gravitational force to assist on a transition in terms of forward motion. Okay, that if you were going to go from position A to position B, okay, it'd take you more energy than if you just ran through using gravity to spin it toward it. Okay, you'd use less. I'm quite sure I'm making no sense whatsoever. But what I'm saying is Chelsea will take the energy that you give it, and they'll double it and go back at you. It'll be like twofold going back at you, because you can watch them as other teams try to attack them. Then all of a sudden they pick the ball, they let one go, they release like two players, at least one, but definitely sometimes two players, and it's just they're off to the races. And then they've got the other team's defense in shatters. They're just shattered on the field because they're not in the position to be able to do that, and they're not. And Emma Hayes, I do not see Emma Hayes playing her second tier of players. I don't see her playing their second string against Man United in the last game of the season, especially if it's to put a nail in Arsenal's coffin. Because she's what she wants to do is she wants to sort of just put them down there. Say, nope, I got top ring, and I'm going to make sure that I got top ring. So, yeah.
That's going to be the interesting one. I don't want to be going to watch United Chelsea and seeing Harder just absolutely tear us apart again, because I've already been twice this season. I don't want to see that again, particularly on the Conti Cup one. Yeah, that was a long drive down there to watch that. So I'm just conscious of time. John, do you want to lead us into the final topic? For the last kind of 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, I was just thinking what everybody's thoughts on after the Old Trafford game, whether people think that we should have a few more games there each season, or whether whether once a season's enough, maybe for one of the bigger games, like when we play City, or if that we should do that, or if we should be having more games there, or we should just keep to what we know at LSV.
Stuart, I'll come to you first then, because potential Liverpool look like they're coming up next season. Could that be the Old Trafford one? Obviously, you mentioned City there as well.
No, I'd like to see 5 games a season at Old Trafford. I think we can do it. It's quite easily done. I think the women's team can now warrant playing at Old Trafford. There was 20,000 there at the weekend, and I think they can warrant playing 5 games. If we get Champions League football, you have to consider playing at Old Trafford. I don't think LSV should be there for Champions League night. Certainly, if Barcelona come to town, or Juventus come to town, or Lyon come to town. So for me, I've noticed over the last couple of weeks now, the club have really ramped up getting behind the women's team, which is brilliant to see. Even the new mural on the face of Old Trafford contains a couple of the girls, which is great. So I think 20,000 fans. If that was a derby, that probably would have been a lot more, maybe 40,000 in there. If that had been a derby, if it had been Liverpool, probably the same. If Chelsea came there, probably the same. I think you've got to look at the calibre of opposition that you put there. I'm not so sure Everton was the right move, but if you look at the type of opposition you put there, I'm pretty sure we could sell out, or certainly get 30 to 40,000 people there for 5 games this year or next season for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Stu, I know you've got to jump off, so I'll let you.
Nice to see you again, guys.
See
you guys. Ta-da.
Marcia, come over to yourself then. Where do you stand on this? The games are being played at Old Trafford. Do you think there should be more than one a season, or do you think that's one too many? Where do you kind of stand on this?
Oh, I think there should be more. I do appreciate the fact that they played against Everton, because Everton, while and theoretically Everton was, I'm not exactly sure when it was set up. Was it set up this season to play Everton, that all of a sudden they decided to have it at Old Trafford, or was it set up last season to play that particular game? Because if it was set up last season, then they were looking forward to a competitive match, as opposed to this season, and then they decided to set it up and say, oh, okay, well, this is a team that we should win, okay? Because you don't want to go to Old Trafford and watch them lose, okay? So even though the derby would bring the people, you might have as much blue as red in the stadium, and that would be really hard to stomach. I know for many fans, okay? I can even tell from here that it'd be hard to stomach. But I think you should have a minimum of 3, and it should be spaced around, you know how we have the international breaks, spaced in sections, like take the season, break it up into thirds, and have one Old Trafford home game per section initially. And then I think it should grow to 5 or more. But I think that they should be teams that, yes, they're competitive, but I don't think we should sign Chelsea in there, not until we can compete with Chelsea. I mean, nobody wants to go to a match and see your team get slaughtered, and Old Trafford is my understanding is Old Trafford's pitch is much larger than LSV's pitch. So that means that your, the physicality of it, of playing that, when you're used to playing at LSV, and it's not that they're not fit, because they're definitely fit players and they're athletes, but you practice what you're going to be doing, and if you practice for LSV and you're playing at Old Trafford a lot, and then you're getting beat by Haley Rasso down the sides. I mean, she was just flat out, it was like she was winning a sprint. Okay. It really was. You don't want that happening at Old Trafford. I want us to look the best we can look at Old Trafford. Okay. And so the timing of it, but I do think it should be 3 times, break the season up into, the first third, the second third, the third third. We sort of do that anyhow, the way we talk about a season. And have a match, for each part of it. And I think it would be great. It gives the girls something to look forward to. It gives the fans something to look forward to. And it just revs everybody up. I mean, the looks on their faces when I was watching that match is amazing. I mean, there was so much energy on that field just to play there.
Yeah, 100%. And John, I'll throw it back to you. John Commode, obviously, is in the comments, has made a point here that obviously the Men's World Cup this year, it sounds weird saying it this year, is obviously in the winter. It's across December. So Old Trafford is going to be completely empty for about a month and a half, I think it is, while the Premier League stops. Do you think that's a viable option? And where do you stand? Obviously, you raised the question. Would you like to see more next season, particularly if we get Champions League? I think that makes a valid point as well.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to have a few more games there. Like you say, maybe 3-4 games a year. I've not actually thought about that with the World Cup this winter going off. So yeah, that'd be ideal, really. Time to do it then next season. If it's going to be vacant for so many weeks, that's a great opportunity, really, to get a few games in then.
Yeah, 100%. There's some comments just before we quickly wrap up. There's some comments there about the atmosphere. Obviously, John, you were stood literally right in front of me, obviously, at the game. Do you want to touch on what you felt like the atmosphere was like?
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, I thought it was really good. Obviously, we were sort of in the in our own singing section bit, which was great. But I thought generally all around the ground it was a really good atmosphere. I thought there might have been a few more there than perhaps what there was, being a bit optimistic. But yeah, I thought it was really good. I thought everybody got involved, and obviously they got to see a good game and a few goals as well. So I think that's probably why we've perhaps played Everton rather than one of the bigger teams this year, just so people that got to see a win rather than something a disappointing result. So hopefully it encourages people to go again.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that last statement. I think that's why it was Everton. Get the fans to see a win. Then maybe next year, we might put a City on there or somebody like that. Before we quickly wrap up, just very quickly then, score predictions for Sunday. Marty, I'll come to you first. Obviously, Brighton
2-1.
at LSV.
2-1 us.
Ooh, I wouldn't want it to be that close.
I would like to see 4-1, but because we need to put goals in the bank. Okay, I would like to see that, but I do think it would definitely be 2-1. I mean, it'll be closer than the 4-1.
Yeah, 100%. And John, for yourself?
I think I'll go 3-1 again, same as last weekend.
No clean sheets? No? Are we
Might
not
be
back
nice,
in
but I think they could just be maybe be late one or something like that. Perhaps a bit of a lapse towards the end, but hopefully it won't matter by that time.
Crikey. These are really narrow score lines. I'm not.
I don't think it'll be a clean sheet. I don't know why. I think because it depends upon what team shows up. Okay, the team that I saw last week of Brighton was very good, and they're the 3-1 that I'm basing the 2-1 that I'm basing it on. The earlier in the season, I'd say it'd be 3-0 us. Okay, but I do think, and honestly, I think Hope Powell's amazing, and she can break down an opponent's like strategy quick, better than like with the best of them. Okay, so I think that she gets the most out of the players she has. Like if you were going to go pound for pound, like boxing terminology, I do think that. So.
Yeah, 100%. Charlie's with me. Bit of positivity, well, optimism, I should say, with a clean sheet. I can see why some people may be a bit skeptical. We don't exactly have many defenders at the moment, so if we get one more injury in the back line, we really are in trouble. So I think I'd go with that as well, 3-0. And yeah, I'm not too sure on goal scorers. Sang, you mention this every time about my hairline. I'm gonna start thinking. I don't know. Maybe I'll just do a stew and put some steam or something in front of my camera so no one can see it. But there we are. We'll wrap it up there. Thanks both for coming on. Make sure you're following these two. Obviously, if you're not already, the full preview for Brighton goes out tomorrow with Ben and Matt. So make sure you check that one out. And yeah, we'll